Morning, Monday again. Hope you're all sober. If you're not, then get back on the sober train, because life with alcohol is very dull. And you must have heard the phrase, you take a drink, then the drink takes you. It's so true, that, because just that one drink, and if you relapse, it's going to take you straight back to square one. I'm going to talk about being imprisoned, really. That's how I felt by alcohol from quite an early age, and I needed it. I enjoyed it initially, and then it became, well, a habit, and then an addiction. Now, most of us start drinking, most of my peers started drinking in the late teens. It was a sociable thing to do, everyone enjoyed it. I mean, you ask people, why did you drink? Because I enjoyed it. I didn't do it to kill myself or to harm myself or to become disabled or to have long hospital spells, all that sort of thing. So the question is, why do we, this is what I think anyway, why do we keep doing it and we cause ourselves harm? And that's all we do. We're going to harm ourselves. The more we do it, the more we drink, the more tired we're going to be, the more it's going to affect your body and your mental health. But the imprisonment started for me when I was probably mid-20s. When I was in London, I was working quite hard, and I used to enjoy the drink. But even just a few drinks, I felt a little bit groggy the next day, And over time, these feelings of needing a drink became stronger and stronger, especially when I was on my days off and that sort of thing. I used to think, why would I have a day off? Instead of having a rest, that's quite a busy job. I was in the police centre in London, and instead of having a rest from that, I used to think, well, I've got an excuse to drink, haven't I? And then it became that every time I was off, I was having to drink early and early in the day. It just builds up over time, over the years, and things happen in your family, that sort of thing. But what I mean by imprisoned is you feel that you can't do much without alcohol. So every social event, I had to plan ahead so I didn't feel too anxious, nervous about going to social events, even going out with my wife for a meal, that sort of thing, ex-wife. And I began to feel that this substance was controlling me, and I didn't really want to stop. That was the problem. People said to me, my parents especially, and my ex-wife and friends, you're drinking too much. But to me, it was a way of life. And it got to the point where I wanted to drink, I needed to drink. And I felt that I was chasing the highs of yesteryear, if that makes sense. As I got to my mid-30s, I was pretty much addicted to it. But I functioned to a reasonable level. I don't think there's anything as a purely 100% functional alcoholic, because it takes away your sense of worth, it takes away your dignity, it takes away your energy, it takes away any ambitions you had. And when I eventually retired and moved back north, then I drank to the point of very dangerous levels, and I couldn't escape from it. My anxiety levels were so high, I used to walk around the shop feeling dizzy, as if I was going to collapse, if people were looking at me. I was always wary of putting the empties into the bins. I was sneaking about, I was hiding things. This is what I mean by imprisoned. So you sort of, your whole life is controlled by alcohol. You can't do anything without having a drink. I couldn't even go to the pub without having a drink first, if that makes sense. So I lived in this flat, and I would get drink delivered by a company called Dial a Drink in the middle of the night. And I was feeling rough all the time. I couldn't even hold the pen to write a check out, remember checks in the old days, or even put the card in the machine. I was so far gone with this anxiety. The only thing I could do was to get a taxi from my flat to a local pub and sit with a lot of other people who drank too much. Most of them weren't as bad as me. And then I felt that I couldn't function at all without it, and I was drinking 24 hours a day. So you get to the point where you feel as if you need a drink just to get up. I used to feel so weak. I used to always feel like I said I was going to collapse, I was going to faint, I was going to have some heart issue. No, that would have never happened to me, but the withdrawals were horrendous. I did try and come off at one suddenly and had a seizure, and that worried me sick for the rest of my life, really, that I was going to have another seizure. And I didn't get medication. So my whole life in a little flat became a prison cell for me. And I've heard the phrase, you've got the key, but you can't get out. And the key to getting out is to get off the drink. You've got to push yourself, you've got to focus, you've got to feel like, I want to do this. But my average day was waking up whenever I woke up and having a drink. I had a can of beer by the bed because I thought I needed that to get me out of bed in case I fell over. Sometimes I did fall over, sometimes I blacked out. I was living in total squalor. The flat became a terrible place to exist. It was the only place I had. People had given up on me. I don't think my parents ever gave up on me. I think my daughter was just about to, but she didn't in the end. And I couldn't seem to get any help. I was too weak to even go to the doctors at that point. And when you're feeling really, really ill with the drink, then other medical issues you ignore. You think, you're feeling a bit rough, or you're feeling there's something wrong with you. I had a sore on my leg once I didn't go to the doctors with. That was hard to treat because I hadn't gone early enough and all this sort of thing. When I was actually admitted to hospital, there were a number of things wrong with me medically that would have been picked up much earlier had I been able to go to the doctors. I couldn't go to the dentist. I didn't go to the dentist for years and years and years. Obviously, you go to a new dentist and then they want to see you every 6 months. I couldn't make the appointments. I lost all that. It's funny enough, my teeth were okay and I had them sorted. So all of this will crumble on you. Your finances will go down. Fortunately, I had an income which kept me going. Goodness knows what I'd be like if I had the stress of having to get money. As in, I hadn't had an income. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had enough to get by. Keep the mortgage going, pay a few bills and such like. But if I hadn't had that, then I would have been worse, and I would have probably passed away years ago. So in 2019, when I felt completely trapped by it, it took somebody who I knew to push me to ring 999. And then I got the diagnosis of liver cirrhosis and ascites fluid, spontaneous bacterial peritonitis. I had seizures in hospital, ended up in intensive care. I was in hospital for weeks, totally reliant on hospital staff. Now, that's imprisonment, isn't it? You're not independent anymore. And from being a strong, independent man, I became a weak, pathetic figure in my eyes who needed assistance to do everything, which is pretty humbling to say the least. That's how you get trapped in alcohol. You don't let the habit become an addiction. And when you've got a habit, you've got to keep it under control. It's not that easy. I know it isn't, because we all like a drink. But I got to the point where I was thinking, I'm going to go for a drink. I remember one day in central London, there was a place called the Red Lion Pub, Sam Smith's pub. If you're in central London, you've got to go. It's a good pub. And I was drinking this strong lager, Ebook lager, and I didn't feel particularly well. But I thought, if I go and have a pint, I'll feel better. I remember standing in the bar, and I remember lifting this pint up and going out and looking at it and thinking, I know you're going to kill me, in my head, I know you're going to kill me, but I'm going to drink you anyway. Then I had one, then I had two, then I had three, then I had four, and so on and so on and so on. And that's how it all starts again. So you become imprisoned very quickly. Now, so, not until your 50s and 60s you suffer. A lot of people die very young from alcohol issues, whether it's cirrhosis or pancreatitis or certain cancers that are linked to alcohol. It's a very dangerous substance. So when you start to feel imprisoned, you've got to break out of that prison. And it's up to you, because you've got the key. You have the key on the inside. You've got to get the key to somebody else and let them get you out, because you can't do this alone. It's impossible to do it alone. You've got to have medical assistance of people who've been in the same situation, and you've got to have some support. Even if you live on your own, it doesn't matter. Get on the phone, speak to somebody, get some support, do some research, and above all, just cut down a little bit. You can taper off it. Don't just stop suddenly. That's the main thing. If you stop suddenly, the chance that you might have a seizure is very dangerous, which happened to me. That's the reason I'm doing this channel, to help other people. I don't want anybody to get in the mess that I got into, because believe me, it is absolutely horrendous. There's no way to live. I'm so pleased every day that I wake up, and I am grateful for all the help I've received. And I did push myself. Sometimes give myself a pat on the back and think, well, at least I'm not going to the pub. Every day I think, what would it be like just to have one? But one will lead to 1,000, and then I won't be here any longer. So that's what you've got to face. There's only two ways you can go. You stop, or you carry on. Simple as that. However, if you benefit from the channel, then please subscribe and share it. I've got a link to an ebook in now, which I've done. This is a guide I put together to help people get sober. Stay sober is the main thing. Staying sober is the main thing. Lots of people have problems when they relapse. And if you need to speak to me, there's an email link in there as well. And I shall speak to you all soon.